You always think you're better than everyone else. We're not doing anything. Get out of here right now or you'll regret it.
In a small American town, black twins Malik and Maya endured daily bullying from Chase, the football star, and his gang mocked, threatened, and silenced by teachers, classmates, and police who protect the abusers. Their humiliation turns violent when Chase tries to shave Malik's head with fire and clippers, sparking a desperate fight where the twins reveal hidden martial arts skill, defending themselves with precision and fury. The truth, captured on a secret video, spreads across school and town, shattering the silence that once protected Chase and exposing systemic racism, betrayal by authority, and the complicity of silence. As protests rise, the police chief resigns, teachers confess their cowardice, and Chase loses everything: his scholarship, his reputation, his power. From suffering and survival to exposure and poetic justice, the twins break the chains of silence and force their town to face its own truth. The morning air was cold, crisp, unwelcome. Malik Johnson tugged at the straps of his backpack as he and his twin sister Maya stepped through the gates of Oak Ridge High. Their dark skin drew stares the moment they entered. The whispers started low, like wind through weeds. Who are they? Transfer kids. Looks like trouble already. Maya's jaw tightened. Malik lowered his gaze, remembering his father's words before sunrise. Patience is strength. Walk steady. Let no one see you break. By second period, the hostility sharpened. In math class, Chase Miller, the blonde quarterback with an easy grin and cold eyes, leaned across his desk. Yo, Tarzan, Chase sneered. You swing in here on a vine, or what? Laughter erupted. Malik's knuckles tightened under the desk, but he said nothing. Maya whispered later, you should have said something, and proved them right. Malik muttered. Not yet. The hallways became gauntlets. Books smacked to the floor when Malik passed. Maya's hair was yanked by girls giggling as if it were sport. Teachers glanced, frowned faintly, then turned away. Silence weighed heavier than the insults. At lunch, the football crew crowded their table. Chase slapped Malik's tray, spilling food across the floor. Pick it up, boy, he ordered. His voice carried, and the cafeteria roared with laughter. Maya stood, fire in her eyes. You don't get to talk to him like that. Chase leaned close, voice dripping venom. You don't get to be here at all. The crowd quieted. Malik rose slowly, towering over his tray but refusing to raise his fists. His voice, steady but low. One day, Chase, not today, but one day. For a moment, the laughter cracked. Chase blinked, unsettled by the calmness in Malik's tone. Then he forced a smirk. We'll see. Narration cut the air. Oak Ridge High was no safe haven. It was a stage where cruelty wore jerseys and silence wore suits. Malik and Maya were outsiders, but not broken. Not yet. The sharp temps of disinfectant and sweat clung to the locker room walls. Metal doors slammed, sneakers squeaked, and steam rose faintly from the showers. Malik stayed quiet, lacing his shoes with deliberate care, hoping to leave unnoticed. But silence never protected him here. A voice broke through. Look who's still hanging around. Jungle Boy doesn't know his place. Chase Miller emerged from behind a row of lockers, 3 teammates in tow. Their grins were wide, hungry. Malik's chest tightened. He kept his head low, muttering, I'm leaving. Nah. Just smirk. He slapped the locker beside Malik's head, the clang echoing. We're just getting started. One of the linemen grabbed Malik's shirt, yanking it over his head. The fabric stretched, tearing slightly. They shoved him against the bench, slapping his bare back. Damn, he's ripped, one of them said mockingly. What, you think you're some kind of warrior? Chase spat onto the floor near Malik's feet. Nah, just another stray dog that wandered in. The slurs began to fly sharp, venomous, each one hitting harder than the fists they didn't throw. Malik clenched his jaw, every muscle screaming to strike. But his father's voice echoed. Patience is strength. Control is survival. He stood, frozen, chest heaving, sweat mixing with humiliation. Their laughter filled the space until the coach's whistle blew faintly outside. The boys scattered, leaving Malik shirtless and trembling. The locker room door creaked open. Maya stepped in, her backpack slung over one shoulder. Her eyes fell on her brother's bruised chest. Malik, her voice cracked. He pulled his shirt down quickly. It's nothing. She walked closer, staring at the red marks across his skin. Nothing. They stripped you like an animal. You think that's nothing." He turned away, shoving books into his bag. "If I fight back, we lose. That's how it works. They want me to snap. I won't." Maya's fists clenched. "So you'll just let them, day after day, until what? They break you. Until they come for me too." Malik's shoulders sagged. He whispered, "I can't be weak. Not here. Not anywhere." Her voice sharpened, eyes burning with unshed tears. "Being silent isn't strength. It's letting them own you." A shadow passed across the doorway. Mr. Briggs, the gym teacher, stood with his whistle dangling. He glanced at Malik's torn shirt, then at the twins' faces. "What's going on?" Maya stepped forward. "They jumped him, right here. You know who." Briggs shifted uncomfortably. "Boys being boys. It happens. Just toughen up, Johnson. Don't let it get to you." Maya's mouth fell open. "Boys being boys. They stripped him. They humiliated him in front of everyone." Briggs shrugged, voice flat. "Star players bring money to this school. Keep your head down, both of you." He walked away, door slamming behind him. The silence afterward was heavy, choking. Malik sat on the bench, his hands shaking. Maya crouched in front of him. "See, even the adults don't care. No one's coming to save us." He stared at the floor, voice barely audible. "Then we'll save ourselves." For the first time, their eyes met with equal fire. Malik's control and Maya's fury fused into something unspoken. A vow hung in the air. Narration cut sharp. In Oak Ridge High, cruelty wore pads and helmets, and authority wore blind. But silence had limits, and the twins' silence was breaking. The next morning, Malik and Maya sat in Miss Peters's classroom after the final bell. The blinds were half drawn, sunlight falling in narrow slants across stacks of graded essays. Miss Peters, a woman in her mid-40s with tired eyes and a practiced smile, leaned against her desk. "You can trust me," she said softly. "I've noticed things. I know some of the football boys can be rough." Maya leaned forward, her voice sharp. "Rough. They cornered Malik in the locker room. They stripped him. They spit on him. That's not rough. That's violence." Malik sat back, arms crossed, tension in every muscle. And Coach Briggs saw the aftermath. He didn't care. Said it was boys being boys. Ms. Peters sighed, folding her hands. "I'll talk to the administration, but listen, this is delicate. Chase is a scholarship student. He has a future. I'll handle it quietly." Maya's eyes narrowed. "Quiet doesn't protect us. Quiet protects him." Miss Peters avoided her gaze. "Trust me. I've been here a long time. I know how these things work." 2 days later, the cafeteria buzzed louder than usual. Malik carried his tray, Maya beside him. When the crowd shifted, Chase Miller stood on top of a table. Football teammates gathered around him. His grin was wide, cruel, like a showman before an eager crowd. "Hey everyone," Chase called out. "Guess who cried to the teachers?" The cafeteria hushed. All eyes turned to the twins. Chase smirked, spreading his arms. "Little Malik and Maya Johnson, crying about bullies. Saying we stripped him down. Saying we spit on him. Man, you should have seen him. Shaking like a scared puppy." Laughter erupted. Malik froze, tray trembling in his hands. His eyes darted to Maya. Her face was pale, but her fury burned hot. Chase hopped down, swaggering across the room. "And get this, Miss Peters. Sweet little Miss Peters. She ran straight to me, told me everything. Said I should be careful, since some people can't handle a little fun." The words landed like knives. Maya's voice cracked the silence. "You liar." But Chase only chuckled. "Liar, she told me herself. Said you kids are sensitive. Said you don't understand how things work around here." The crowd leaned in, waiting for the explosion. Malik set his tray down slowly. His voice, low but steady. "You betrayed us." Double quotes. Miss Peters sat at the far corner, pretending to eat lunch, face flushed. She didn't look up. She didn't speak. Maya's fists clenched. "Say it to her face, Malik. Say it now." He turned, his voice louder, ringing across the cafeteria. "Ms. Peters, did you tell him?" The teacher's fork froze halfway to her mouth. She didn't answer. The silence was enough. Gasps rippled through the crowd, then more laughter, crueler, emboldened. Students slapped tables, chanting, "Crybaby twins, crybaby twins." Maya's voice cut like glass. "You protect him because he wins games, because his skin's the right color, because his father donates money. And you expect us to be quiet." Chase grinned wider, circling Malik like a predator. "You should have kept your mouths shut. Nobody wants to hear you whining." You're not victims, you're entertainment. Malik's breathing slowed, eyes locked on Chase. Every part of him screamed to strike, but he stood still, forcing control. His voice, barely audible but sharp as a blade. One day, Chase, your words will choke you. The cafeteria erupted, in gears, but something in Malik's tone left a sliver of unease. Maya turned, her voice breaking but fierce. And you, Miss Peters, you've shown us exactly what silence costs. Don't think we'll ever forget. Still, Miss Peters said nothing. She lowered her gaze, shame hidden behind silence, while Chase basked in the mockery. Narration cut through the chaos. Betrayal was not just fists and slurs. Betrayal was silence when voices should arise, complicity when justice demanded courage. In Oak Ridge High, the system fed its own, and sacrifice always had the same skin. Malik and Maya walked out of the cafeteria that day with humiliation burning like fire. But fire, once lit, doesn't die quietly. It waits, it consumes, and for the first time, both twins knew they could not trust anyone but themselves. Friday night lights glared over the football field, bright enough to turn darkness into theater. The stands were packed, parents, students, alumni, a sea of red and white jerseys and painted faces. Oak Ridge High worshipped football, and Chase Miller stood at the altar. Malik and Maya sat in the bleachers beside their father, arms folded tight. The crowd's energy was deafening, chants thundering, drums rattling. Malik stared at the field without seeing it. He felt every whisper, every side-eye, pressing against his skin. Maya leaned close. We shouldn't have come. Their father's voice was firm. We don't hide, we stand. The whistle blew. The game rolled on, bodies colliding, helmets clashing. Chase led every play with practiced arrogance. Each touchdown pulled more cheers, more praise, the crowd swelling with devotion. Then, at halftime, the cruelty struck. Chase grabbed the PA microphone, smirking, sweat dripping from his brow. "Hey, Oak Ridge," he shouted, his voice echoing across the stadium. "Let's give a round of applause to our newest imports." Students perked up, laughter already bubbling. Chase pointed toward the stands, toward Malik. "Yeah, that's right. Jungle Boy himself. Swung right in from the vines. Brought his sister to guess the zoo had a discount." The laughter erupted instantly, high-pitched rolling, merciless. Some clapped, others hooted, stomping feet. Malik's face burned, his chest pounded. He rose halfway from his seat, fists curling. Maya hissed, grabbing his arm. Their father stood slowly, his voice cutting through the Enough. His words boomed, but the stadium drowned him out. The announcer, flustered, yanked the mic from Chase, but the damage was done. The insult hung heavy, louder than the crowd itself. Malik sat back down, trembling, his teeth clenched so hard his jaw ached. Maya's eyes filled with tears, fury and shame mingling. Their father's voice shook with restrained rage. "I'll speak to the officials. They can't let this stand." But when the final whistle blew, when the players filed off the field victorious, the Johnson family was met with stone walls. In the school office, the principal folded his hands, his tone patronizing. "Boys will be boys. It was a joke, nothing more. Let's not make trouble where there isn't any." Maya shot forward in her chair. "A joke? He called my brother an animal, in front of the whole town. That's not a joke. That's hate." The principal's smile never wavered. "Chase has a future. Colleges are watching. You wouldn't want to ruin that over a misunderstanding." Their father's voice dropped to a growl. "You're telling my children their dignity means less than his future." No answer came, just silence. At home, that night, the weight of it all settled heavy. Malik sat on the edge of his bed, staring at his hands. Maya paced the floor. "How much more are we supposed to take? They humiliate you, they humiliate me, and the school protects them. Dad tells us to endure, but endure what? Until we break." Malik's voice was low. "If I fight, I'm the monster. If I stay silent, I'm prey." Maya stopped pacing. "Then, maybe we stop asking what they'll see. Maybe we show them what we are." Malik met her gaze. For the first time, his silence wavered. The patience drilled into him through years of martial arts. Training cracked under the weight of humiliation. Narration cut sharp. In Oak Ridge, cruelty had no ceiling, and silence had no bottom. The crowd had roared for Chase, the system had bowed, and the twins had been told to endure. But endurance bends into resistance when shame is burned too deep. And Malik knew the next insult would not pass unanswered. The night air was heavy under the stadium bleachers, thick with the smell of damp grass and rusted metal. Malik walked alone, his backpack slung over one shoulder, He knew the risk of moving through this part of the campus after dark, but he wanted silence, a sliver of peace. It didn't last. "Look who we got here." Chase's voice rang out, smug and sharp. He stepped from the shadows with 4 teammates at his back. Their jerseys still reeked of sweat and victory. Bollock froze, chest tightening. "I don't want trouble," Chase grinned. "Trouble's all you ever bring. Think you can embarrass me? Think you can make me look bad in front of the whole school? Nah, we're fixing this tonight." The boys closed in, to grabbed Malik's arms, shoving him against the cold steel. His backpack hit the dirt. "Hold him," Chase ordered. Another player yanked at Malik's hair, twisting his head back. Chase pulled a pair of clippers from his pocket, their buzz crackling in the night. "Time for a haircut, Jungle Boy. Let's clean you up," Malik thrashed, muscles straining, but the grip on him was iron. Then Maya's voice cut through the dark. "Let him go." She sprinted into the circle, fury blazing in her eyes. She shoved one of the linemen with both hands, catching him off guard, but another player slammed her back to the ground. Laughter echoing. Chase crouched near Malik's face, the clippers humming inches from his hair. "You're nothing. And after tonight, everyone's gonna know it." Then, with a flourish, he flicked off the clippers and pulled a lighter from his pocket, flicking the flame alive. Its glow painted his grin in fire. "Or maybe," he whispered, "we see how well that hair burns." The world slowed. The flame hissed. Malik's control shattered in a blur. His training surged forward. The years of kata, the discipline of every strike. His knee shot upward, driving into the stomach of the boy holding him. Air exploded from the player's lungs as he crumpled. Malik twisted free, elbow cracking against another's jaw. A scream tore the night. Maya scrambled up, fury boiling into precision. She swept her leg low, toppling the lineman who had shoved her down. As he hit the dirt, she drove her palm into his chest, forcing the air from his lungs. Chase stumbled back, lighter falling from his hand. His smirk evaporated. "Get them," he barked. But the fight had already shifted. Malik's fists and feet moved like steel, striking with precision. Each blow was measured, not wild controlled, devastating. One player lunged, only to crumple when Malik's kick slammed into his ribs. Maya's hair whipped as she spun, her strike connecting with another jaw. The boy fell to his knees, clutching his face. For the first time, fear flashed in Chase's eyes. He swung wildly, his fist aimed at Malik's head. Malik blocked with his forearm, the impact jarring but contained. He stepped in, his fist burying into Chase's stomach. The quarterback doubled over, gasping, knees hitting dirt. The bleachers above seemed to groan, the night itself holding its breath. The predators had become prey. Silence hung for a heartbeat, broken only by the groans of defeated players. Malik stood over Chase, chest heaving, sweat dripping. His voice was low, deadly calm. "Never touch us again." Maya stood beside him, fists clenched, her gaze sharp as glass. "You wanted to see what we are. Now you know." Chase coughed, his bravado cracked. "You'll pay for this," he rasped. "Everyone will know. You're violent. You'll get expelled, arrested." Malik leaned closer, his words razor-thin. "Better violent than silent." Chase's eyes flickered rage, fear, disbelief tangled together. The twins stepped back, leaving the bullies broken in the dirt. Their footsteps echoed under the bleachers, strong, unhurried, narration cut like steel. Patience was strength until it wasn't. Oak Ridge High had mistaken silence for submission, discipline for weakness. But fire, when pushed long enough, ignites. The Johnson twins had struck back, and Oak Ridge would never see them the same again. By Monday morning, the whispers had multiplied. The story spread fast. Malik and Maya had jumped the football team. By the time first period ended, it was no longer whispers. It was accusation. In the hallway, students pointed. "There they are, violent freaks, should have never come here." Maya's shoulders were stiff, every step tight with anger. Malik kept his chin high, but the weight of the stairs pressed heavy. At their lockers, Chase strutted past, bruises faintly visible under his collar. He grinned anyway. "How's it feel? Whole school knows what you really are." "Animals," Maya snapped, her voice sharp. "Animals. You dragged him under the bleachers. You tried to burn him." Chase leaned closer, whispering so only they heard. "Prove it." Then he walked away, laughter trailing him. Malik closed his locker with a slam. "They twisted everything. We fight back. And suddenly we're the monsters. Then we stop letting them control the story," Maya said, on English class. Ms. Peters avoided their eyes, but Maya didn't avoid hers. She stood in the middle of the room, voice ringing out, "Everyone needs to hear this. Chase Miller and his friends cornered my brother. They tried to cut his hair, tried to burn it. We fought back, and now we're the villains." Gasps rippled. A few students laughed nervously. Miss Peters froze. Maya turned to her. "And you promised to help. You told us we could trust you. But you betrayed us. You protected him." The room went silent, all eyes on the teacher. Miss Peters's lips parted, but no words came. Her face flushed crimson. Malik's voice followed, calm but heavy. "You taught us that silence is safe, but silence is the reason this school lets hate grow. We're done being silent." A boy in the back muttered, "They're lying." Another added, "They just want attention." Maya's gaze swept the room. "Lying. Then ask yourself, why would we risk everything to tell the truth? Why would we put ourselves in front of you like this if it wasn't real?" The class shifted uneasily. The power in her voice made the denials faltered at lunch. They sat at a corner table. Whispers circled like vultures. A girl with braids walked over, her voice tentative. I saw some of it. I didn't record it, but I heard them. What they said to you." She hesitated, then whispered, "You're not lying." Malik nodded once, then "Speak louder." She shook her head, fear flashing in her eyes, and walked away. Maya slammed her palm on the table. "Always the same. They all know. But nobody wants to be the one to say it. They'd rather let us drown." Malik's jaw clenched. "Then we'll speak for ourselves. And we'll keep speaking until the silence cracks." That afternoon, Chase tried to corner them again at the lockers. But this time, the twins didn't shrink. Chase smirked. "Careful, or you'll end up expelled." Maya stepped forward, eyes burning. "Careful, or your lies will rot faster than you can spread them." Malik's voice followed, steady. "You think fear will protect you, but fear shifts. One day soon, you'll see it in their eyes when they look at you, not us." Chase's smirk faltered, just slightly. Narration struck sharp. Silence had always been Oak Ridge's weapon. Teachers, students, parents, all choosing to look away. But silence fractures when truth refuses to hide. For the first time, Malik and Maya were no longer whispering victims in the corner. They were standing in the open, their voices louder than the jeers. And fear, once theirs, was beginning to move. The storm broke on a Wednesday morning. Phones buzzed in every hallway, screens glowing with the same shaky video. Students clustered in knots, gasping, whispering, watching again and again. It was all there. Chase and his teammates dragging Malik under the bleachers, the clippers buzzing, the lighter flaring, the threats, the slurs, Maya's body hitting the dirt, then the fight, not wild violence, but precise, desperate strikes. Survival written in every movement, no editing, no spin, just truth. In homeroom, the video played on someone's phone, volume low but clear. "Time for a haircut." Jungle Boy gasps. Silence. A girl covered her mouth. "Oh my God, he really said that." Another voice. "I thought they made it up." Maya sat at her desk, chin high. Malik stared straight ahead, fists tight on the wood. For once, the whispers weren't mocking. They were afraid. By lunch, the whole school was a hive. "Did you see Chase? He had the lighter. They tried to burn his hair." Some students who had laughed days before now kept their distance, shame flickering in their eyes. Others stayed silent, trapped between disbelief and guilt. Chase stormed into the cafeteria, his swagger fractured. "It's fake," he shouted. "You all know it's fake. Somebody edited it." But no one cheered this time. No laughter followed. Only uneasy glances, murmurs, and the glow of dozens of screens replaying his face, his words, his violence. That evening, the video spread beyond Oak. Parents saw it, alumni, local news anchors, the town Facebook page ignited with fury. Disgraceful. He should be expelled. Scholarship gone. By the next morning, Chase's name trended online. His smiling football portraits paired with screenshots of the lighter flame. The university recruiters withdrew interest within hours. His golden future cracked in full view of the town. In class, Maya leaned across her desk toward Miss Peters. Her voice cut low but sharp. "You hear them now, the same words you told us to keep quiet about. They're playing on every phone, every screen." Miss Peters's hands trembled around her stack of papers. I didn't know it would." "You knew exactly," Maya snapped. "You chose to protect him. Now everyone knows who you really protected." The room froze. Miss Peters's face flushed crimson, shame blooming where silence once lived. Malik's voice followed, calm but heavy. "The truth doesn't need your permission anymore." That afternoon, an emergency meeting was called. Parents filled the gymnasium, voices rising like thunder. Some demanded accountability, others fumbled excuses. A mother shouted, "You knew what was happening. My kids told me the twins were being bullied, and you all did nothing." Another parent glared at the administrators. "You let that boy call them animals in front of the whole town, and you're still protecting him." The principal's voice cracked as he tried to calm the storm. "We are investigating." "No," a father boffed. "The evidence is on every screen. There's nothing left to investigate." The gym roared with anger, the foundation of silence finally crumbling. That night, Malik sat at the kitchen table, staring at the glow of his own phone. The video replayed again. The moment Chase's flame hovered over his head, he exhaled slowly. Their father placed a hand on his shoulder. The truth came out. "You didn't need revenge. You needed light. And now it shines." Maya sat across from them, her eyes fierce but wet. "Light doesn't erase what they did. It doesn't erase how they treated us." Double quotes. Her father nodded. "No, but it exposes them. And once something is exposed, it cannot be hidden again." Malik's voice was quiet. "Poetic justice." The next morning, Chase walked into school alone. His teammates avoided his eyes. The crowd that once cheered now parted around him, whispers sharp as blades. His shoulders slumped, his swagger gone. Maya watched him from across the hall, her voice low to Malik. The silence broke. "He's choking on it now." Malik nodded, gaze steady. "The lie always devours itself." Narration struck hard. For weeks, Oak Ridge had chosen silence over truth, cruelty over courage. But truth, once revealed, spreads like fire, unstoppable, consuming, leaving no shield intact. And in its blaze, the twins were no longer shadows. They were survivors, and Chase was ash. The fallout arrived like winter slow at first, then sudden, bitter, and impossible to ignore. Chase sat in the principal's office, jaw tight, his parents flanking him like broken statues. His father's voice cut sharp. "This is harassment. My son's life is being ruined by a doctored video." "He's an athlete, a leader," the principal interrupted, exhausted. "It's not doctored. We've confirmed it. Multiple sources, multiple angles. There's no defense left." Chase slammed a fist on the desk. "They set me up. They wanted to ruin me." The words sounded hollow. Even his parents didn't echo them. His mother's eyes darted downward, shame carving lines into her face. In the hallways, students parted like waves around the twins. No laughter now, no whispers of doubt, just stares, some guilty, some curious, some full of respect, unspoken. Malik walked steady, his shoulders no longer hunched against ridicule. Maya's chin stayed high, her gaze unflinching. Still, silence lingered, not the silence of denial, but the silence of reckoning. That evening, a town hall meeting erupted. The gymnasium filled again, but this time the anger was more focused, heavier. A teacher stood up, voice shaking. "I stayed quiet. I saw the bullying. I told myself it wasn't my place. But watching that video, watching those kids fight for their lives, I realized silence makes me complicit." A parent added, "We failed them. We failed Malik and Maya. We taught our kids to cheer for cruelty." The superintendent shifted uneasily. "The district will take immediate action. Policies will change. Staff will be retrained." From the back, a voice rose. "And what about Chase?" Murmurs rippled. The answer hung in the air before the principal finally spoke. "He's expelled. Effective immediately." The crowd buzzed, some nodding, others gasping. But no one could deny it was inevitable. News traveled fast. Chase's scholarship evaporated officially. His name scrubbed from athletic boards. Local headlines called him the fallen star, while national outlets ran clips of the video with captions like, "High school bullying exposed." For Malik and Maya, the coverage was both vindication and burden. Strangers praised their strength online. Others accused them of ruining a boy's future. Maya scrolled through comments late one night, her jaw tight. "He's just a kid," she read aloud. "Everyone makes mistakes." Malik's voice was quiet but sharp. "Mistakes don't come with lighters and slurs." Their father, standing in the doorway, added, "The world always looks for excuses when the guilty wear the right skin." Days blurred. The school buzzed with new rules, new workshops, forced apologies. But Malik and Maya knew these were patches, not repairs. At lunch, a group of students approached them. Not bullies this time, quiet kids. Kids who once looked away. One spoke, hesitant. I'm sorry. I laughed when they messed with you. I didn't stop it. I should have." Maya's eyes burned, but her voice stayed level. Your sorry doesn't give me back the nights I cried. It doesn't erase the fear in Malik's eyes. The student nodded, shame-heavy. I know, but I don't want to be silent anymore. Malik studied him, then gave a single nod. Then don't be. Meanwhile, Chase roamed the edges of town, his fall complete. Former friends ignored his calls, coaches deleted his messages. His once bright future was ash, and the world no longer cheered his name. At the diner, whispers followed him. That's the one. Thought he was untouchable. Now look at him. He sat alone, shoulders hunched, the weight of truth crushing his former swagger, back in their home. Maya stood by the window, watching the town lights flicker. Do you think it's over? She asked. Malik leaned on the frame beside her. No, truth doesn't end things. It starts them. Now they all have to decide what to do with it. Their father's voice came from behind them, steady, proud. You endured. You resisted. And in resisting, you forced the mask off this town. Maya's voice was low. And now they can't pretend anymore. Narration rose, sharp as glass. Oak Ridge could not unsee the fire it had tried to smother. The silence it clung to lay shattered. The lies burnt to ash. In the ruin, truth stood unyielding, and in its reflection, the twins were no longer prey. They were mirrors forcing everyone to face what they had ignored. The cops arrived late to the storm. For weeks, they had shrugged off complaints. Boys will be boys, just schoolyard drama. Reports filed by the twins' father had vanished into silence. But once the video spread, once the town erupted, their silence looked like complicity. And complicity demanded exposure. At the school board meeting, parents' voices rose like fire. You had complaints months ago. One mother shouted, they warned you, and you ignored them. Another snapped, the police knew, and they didn't care. A father stood, face red. My son told me Chase's crew was targeting the twins. He told me, and I called the station. You brushed me off. The police chief, seated stiff in uniform, clenched his jaw. We did not have evidence at the time. Maya's voice cut across the room, sharp as steel. You had bruises. You had threats. You had our word. But our word wasn't enough for you, was it? The room fell silent. Malik leaned forward, his voice steady but heavy. It wasn't evidence you wanted. It was silence. Because protecting Chase was easier than protecting us. The crowd roared in agreement. Days later, local reporters dug deeper, past complaints, surface-buried police reports, ignored parent letters, hushed up incidents involving Chase and his teammates. Each article chipped away at the blue wall of silence, exposing cracks that could no longer be patched. One anchor spoke bluntly on air. The truth is undeniable. Oak Ridge authorities knew. They looked the other way. And now, the entire system is under fire. The word spread like sparks. At school, students whispered less about the twins and more about the cops. They really knew. My mom said the chief tried to shut it down. They're all corrupt. The blue uniforms, once symbols of untouchable power, now drew suspicion and anger. That evening, the twins' father stood at the kitchen table, papers spread before him, old reports he had filed, stamped with dates, ignored. His hands trembled. I begged them to listen, he muttered. I begged, and they buried it. Maya placed her hand on his. Now everyone knows. His eyes filled, voice raw. But at what cost? You nearly burned. You nearly broke. My children nearly died before they listened. Malik's tone was calm, but his words cut. That's the price of their silence. And now it's theirs to pay. The pressure mounted. Protests formed outside the station. Signs read justice for the twins. Silence is violence. No more blue wall. Students joined parents, teachers, strangers from nearby towns. Voices thundered through Oak Ridge streets, drowning out the lies that once hid in plain sight. Say their names. A chant rose. Malik and Maya. Malik and Maya. Inside the station, the officers shifted uneasily, unused to being the ones under scrutiny. The collapse came swift. A state investigation opened. The police chief resigned under pressure. 2 officers were suspended without pay for mishandling complaints. The department issued a hollow apology, words that could not erase years of indifference. Maya heard it on the news and scoffed. They're sorry because they got caught, not because they cared. Malik nodded. The blue wall didn't fall out of conscience. It fell because truth smashed through. At school, Miss Peters approached the twins, her voice thin. I want to apologize. For everything. For not stepping in. For telling you to stay quiet. Maya's eyes burned into hers. You told us to swallow our pain. You told us silence was safer. Do you understand what that almost cost us? Tears welled in the teacher's eyes. I do now. I can't take it back, but I can speak up now. I can fight for you now. Malik's voice was cold. Fight for truth, not for us. Truth doesn't need pity, it needs courage. Miss Peters lowered her head. The narration cut, sharp, documentary-like. For years, Oak Ridge's walls stood tall, painted in blue, and silence. But walls built on lies crumble when truth floods in. The collapse was not mercy. It was justice. And in the rubble, the twins stood not as victims begging to be heard, but as survivors whose voices shattered the silence that tried to bury them. Oak Ridge woke to a different silence, not the silence of denial, not the hush of complicity, but the silence that follows, collapsed, the pause after a storm when the wreckage is too obvious to ignore. Chase was gone, his face stripped from trophies, his name erased from banners. The police chief had resigned. Teachers whispered apologies in hallways they once policed with indifference. For the first time, Malik and Maya walked through the school doors without the weight of eyes burning holes in their backs. The air felt strange, lighter, but also heavier, filled with unfinished reckonings. At lunch, a group of younger students approached timidly. A girl spoke first, clutching her tray. You don't know me, but watching you fight back, it made me realize I don't have to stay quiet either. When people call me names, when they laugh at Mike and speak, I don't have to hide. Maya's eyes softened. Then speak. Even when your voice shakes, speak, because silence keeps their chains locked. The girl nodded, tears in her eyes, before hurrying back. Malik watched her go, voice low. Chains don't just bind us, they bind everyone who believes the lie. Break them, and others start breaking theirs. That evening, at home, the twins' father gathered them close. The house was quiet, the air thick with memory. He spoke slowly. When I was your age, I learned to keep my head down, to swallow anger, to survive by silence. I thought I was protecting you by teaching the same. His voice cracked, rough with years of buried pain. But you proved me wrong. You broke the silence I could not. You broke the chains that bound even me. Maya reached for his hand. We didn't break them alone. You stood behind us. You carried us through. Malik's voice followed, steady. But now, no one carries silence anymore. News crews returned to Oak Ridge, this time not for Chase, but for the twins. Interviews filled living rooms across the county. Clips showed Malik's calm voice, Maya's fierce eyes. We didn't fight to be heroes, Malik said into the microphone. We fought to survive. We fought because silence was killing us. Maya added, justice isn't a gift. It's not mercy. It's truth uncovered. And truth always comes with a cost. The segment ended with the anchor's words, from the ashes of silence. Two voices rose, and Oak Ridge must now decide what kind of town it wants to be. At school, Chase's old teammates slouched through hallways, shadows of their former arrogance. No one cheered their laughter anymore. No one followed their lead. Some avoided the twins altogether. A few whispered apologies, but the twins met them with cold eyes. Forgiveness was not demanded. Accountability was. Weeks passed, the seasons shifted, and yet the scar remained. Students still replayed the video in hushed corners. Parents still debated in grocery aisles. Teachers still carried the weight of guilt in their gazes. But Malik and Maya no longer carried chains, they carried fire. On a crisp Friday evening, Malik stood with Maya by the football field, the stadium quiet, the bleachers empty. The air smelled of autumn and memory. This was his kingdom, Maya murmured. The place they cheered his name while they mocked us. Malik's gaze swept the field. And now it's just grass, just lights. His power was never real. It was built on silence, on lies, and lies always collapse. Maya's hand slipped into his. Then let's make sure the truth stays louder than the lies. They stood together in the empty stadium, their silhouettes framed against the not victims, not prey, survivors whose voices could no longer be muted. Narration cut final and sharp. Chains do not fall quietly. They shatter, leaving echoes that shake walls, topple idols, expose truths buried in ash. In Oak Ridge, the chains were broken not because the town chose courage, but because two twins refused silence. And in that refusal, they forged something stronger than fear. They forged freedom.